Hey, so today on Tuesday Tip, we wanted to talk to you about those beds. So this time of the year, people decide they're ready to get out. Summer was here a couple of days ago, got nice and warm over the weekend, and I wanted to give you some tips on that landscaping. So I know we have a lot of do-it-yourselfers out there. We have a lot of people who have service and those kind of things, but wanted to talk to you about those outdoor spaces. This time of the year, people decide they go over to Lowe's and they start buying plants and they start slapping them in the ground. And that's always a great time. It's always a fun time. But we wanted to talk a little bit about that actual process and how to go about that. So when you are going out and you are starting to select plants, keep in mind a couple of things. Today, we're going to specifically talk about ground covers. Ground covers or anything that will low to the ground that will cover a larger area or a massive area very simple and very easily. And so we wanted you to think about that process of ground covers. There's a number of different varieties of ground covers out there. There are a number of different growth habits and textures and the process of how it spreads. And so keep those things in mind. There are certain plants that I recommend that you stay away from. For an example, English ivy. English ivy is a wonderful ground cover in certain locations, but it does need to be maintained. English ivy is one of those where you put it out and it grows and it will actually grow from limb to limb. So as the vine grows out, it attaches to the ground, it grows again, and it continues to move. And so it can go on for a long period of time. It can also climb trees, it can climb houses, it can climb inside of buildings if it has the right space. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about some of those ground covers like English ivy. Another one that we see a lot of in the landscape is the Asiatic jasmine. Asiatic jasmine is another one that's a low grower. It can get really tight, really thick, but it needs to be maintained. Just because you say, well, I planted a ground cover and it's out in that natural area, I don't ever have to do anything with it. Well, that's not really a good way to look at it because you do have to maintain that ground cover. A couple of other ground covers that fall into that category are some liripy. There's a lot of different varieties of liripy out there. Now, or lyropy, but liripy or lyropy, depending on how you say it, there are multiple different varieties. So you have Big Blue, you have Dwarf, you have Variegated. And so a lot of us think about monkey grass. Oh, well, monkey grass and liripy are the same. And they're not the same. Monkey grass, back in the old days, you may have had it at your grandparents' home. It was a border or ground cover or used for ground cover. And then what happened was that border, you'd go out there and dig it up and transplant it in different places in the yard. It would spread because that was what it was designed to do. Most of our modern day liripy that we use, it doesn't spread. It doesn't have that spreading style, that genetics in it that we did back in the old days of monkey grass. Now, we do have some mondo grasses, which are mondos, dwarf mondo, those kind of things. And you can get some of those varieties that will spread. So it'll get into an area and then it'll start spreading and thickening and those kind of things. So those are just a couple of simple ones that we see on a regular basis for ground covers. Those people get out there, they get excited, they start planting a bunch of ground covers, they start planting a bunch of plants. And keep in mind your spacings, your distances, the type of plant that it is. What's the long-term effect or the long-term maintenance of that particular product or that particular plant? Is it something that grows really fast? Because if it grows really fast and it gets to the height that you want, it doesn't know to stop growing, so it's going to continue to grow really fast. And then it becomes a maintenance issue. Then you have to maintain it and take care of it. And so it's very simple. Look at your ground covers like your lantanas. I use a lot of lantana in my home because really, I don't want to replace it every year. I just want to trim it back in the wintertime, let it come back out. So you can look at some lantanas could fall into that category. But keep in mind the spacing. Keep in mind the amount of long-term effort that's going to be required of that particular plant. Maintaining it. Are we going to have to trim the edges of it? What are we going to have to do in order to keep that plant looking good all the time? So Hope these couple simple, easy tips will keep you in mind. If you have some questions about a particular plant or you have some questions about what's the best plants to use, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to help you. Check out our website as well. And also, and always, you can always use Google. Everybody uses Google. Check it out. See if we can help you. And hope these were some good and helpful tips.